Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to today's presentation. My name is Evangelysm, and you are listening to the Evangelysm podcast, and I'm here to share my love of raiding for priests and for generally having fun in the world of Warcraft and spending too much time in Azeroth, the Outlands, and more recently in Draenor. Today is Wednesday, the 25th of February 2015, and in today's show I'll be covering the news, Talk, which will all be about exploiting in WoW, my mailbox, and this is how we do it, the third tier of the priest talents. But first, my weekly update on what I've been up to inside the game and in the real world. The past week I've mostly been removing some egg from my face. Last week I predicted that 6.1 would hit last week. I was wrong, but only by a week, so hey, you know, it happens. I was wrong. Don't shoot me, please. So the US have 6.1, they got that yesterday. The EU have got it today. I haven't been on the servers yet because I'm doing the show now, principally because of my work schedule this week. So I haven't played the game yet, so I don't know what it's like in-game. So hopefully everyone will be enjoying tweeting from the game and posting selfies with the new selfie cam. Apart from that, what I did last week when I actually was in-game was I did a lot of mount farming. Yes, I'm still doing some mount farming, but not while I've been queuing up for Ashran this time, because, quite frankly, I gave that up. I just simply couldn't bring myself to suffer the pain of being stuck in a queue for 2 or 3 hours. So hopefully 6.1 will have fixed that this week. I'll see how that is in this coming week, and we'll report back to you next week. But back to my mount farming. I've got quite a few mounts that I still need to get, and my route, not my route, but the mounts that I've been aiming for in no particular order. So we'll start with Dragon Soul, the Blazing Drake from the big guy, Deathwing. So I've been hoping to get that, still not done it. Experiment 12B from Ultraxion, also in Dragon Soul. One of my guildies got that way back in Cataclysm, still haven't got that. Then there's Onyxia, High Max, stealing my Onyxia years ago. I do remember, and I'm still farming Onyxia, and I do kill Onyxia a lot, and I think I've probably seen my Onyxia drop, so hey, I still try. In ICC 25, occasionally I'll go in for Invincible. Zul'Gurub, there's 2 mounts in Zul'Gurub, there's the Panther and the Raptor mounts, and again, no luck on those. I've killed it countless times. Stonecore and the Vortex Pinnacle have 2 drakes, well, 1 drake in each, and I keep trying for them, no joy. Now, my real arch nemesis is there as well. There's the Anzu mount in Sethic Halls. Yeah, I know you probably did get it in TBC. I will probably never see it. I keep trying. I punish myself week in, week out. I don't religiously do it every day on 10 tunes because, quite frankly, that's just silly. It's just going to be more heartbreak. Moving over to Firelands, there's the Smouldering Egg of Mila Gazor, which drops from Alice Resort. And then finally in there is the Pure Blood Firehawk from Ragnaros. Oh, and then there's the Throne of the Four Winds, which has the Drake of the South Wind. Now, if you're a Twitter follower, you'll probably know this already. But last week, I actually got the mount from Throne of the Four Winds. So I'm now the proud owner of the Drake of the South Wind. My poor little hunter, bless him, had a strange life, that one. He managed to get it on his first visit there. But I'm not trying to boast there because I've been there lots of times before on Evelix. And it's never dropped. That was that. That's for this week. One of the mounts dropped. It's great. It's brilliant. And I'm still 33 short of my 250 mounts achievement. So I'm guessing that there'll be some time before we get that one. Evlix has been raiding, of course, and this week we got Flamebender Growlsdown on Heroic, which puts us now at 5 of 10 in Blackrock Foundry. And on our normal Blackrock Foundry run this week, where we go on a weekend, Sunday, Monday nights, and we take pretty much the people that can't raid midweek, and we go through normal, and currently we're 9 of 10. Black Hand is providing a little bit of an obstacle. We're getting to phase 3 just, and we just need some practice in phase 3 and he'll go down. No trouble at all soon. But in this week we actually got the achievement on Flamebender Kagraz, where you have to keep Akinor Steelbreaker, I think his name is, Steelbreaker? I can never remember which. You have to keep him alive all through the fight rather than kill him. And then you get the achievement, Bring the Steel or something like that. I can't remember the name of the achievement, but you get him as a garrison follower for doing it. Excellent. And he's epic, of course. Now, I didn't put him in my team of 25, so he was straight onto the subs bench, and I've got enough armour tokens, and he's already at 654 item level, so if I need him, he's there. Also this week, I actually did some PvP. I did a lot of threes with two guildies. Alcathrace, one of our hunters, and Funjitsu, our Brewmaster Monk. We had a little bit of laugh, healer tank and DPS, but it wasn't just a laugh, it was really successful. We had a reasonably fast conquest cap, and that just left me 200 points short of conquest cap, which meant I needed to do Ashran, but that went okay. I queued once, got in, got me 200 points, and left. Gave someone else the chance to get in. I really wasn't in the mood for doing Ashran. As I mentioned, I just hate the place at the moment because of the time it takes to get in. I also had a run out with the RBG team last night, as it actually was, and while we won most of our battles, some of them were quite easy, some of them were really close, but we did win most. We've still got a lot of improvements to make as a team, but we started late because Drama Llama came to visit early in the year, and it left the RBG team in an unknown state, we'll call it, for a month, maybe a little bit more. But we've got a new leadership team in, and they are doing a fantastic job, the three of them. So Demix, Applejack and Dialox, thumbs up, keep up the good work, mates, and we will be back to where we belong as a guild. So fantastic job. And that pretty much wraps up my in-game activities in the past week. In real life stuff has been pretty boring, and the reason the show is late out this week is because of my shift pattern, which is Monday and Tuesday days, Wednesday and Thursday nights. So I miss out on raiding and have to deliver the show late to you guys and girls out there. And I don't like doing it, but sadly, with my current shift pattern, it will happen 2 or 3 weeks in a row every 2 months. But hopefully I'll find a job with better work schedule, and then I can have a defined 7-day week and have a regular day of getting the show out to you guys. Anyway, that's a different story for a different day. We'll now move on to the news. And in the news this week, we have got Blackhand is finally being defeated by Method. And at the time of recording, only Method. So congratulations to Method on their world first kill. And it is truly a world first kill because nobody else has even killed him so far. Now, this is a bit of a shocker, to be perfectly honest. We're not normally seeing only one guild having killed a boss for a certain amount of time. And I can't even remember the last time it happened this way. I mean, we had Paragon kill Impregnator Marduk, or whatever his name is, Imperator Margok, that's the fella. He went down by Paragon. They then killed the Butcher and cleared Heimel. And everyone else pretty much caught up with them really quickly. But that isn't what's happened here. Last 20th of February, which was last Thursday, so it's now been almost a week since Method killed Blackhand. Now, looking at WoW Progress, and I've literally just brought up the page, Paragon are at 9 of 10, and then there's 18 other guilds that are at 9 of 10 as well. And this is a week later. Now, there is some controversy around the Method kill. Has this got anything to do with why all of the other guilds are still stuck at 9 of 10? I don't know, but there's something odd. Maybe Method had to cheat to get the kill. I don't know, but how Method cheated is up for discussion, we'll say. And I don't know. They are accused of account sharing, which, while it may technically be cheating, it isn't actually cheating the encounter. They're still using real characters with real gear and killing the boss correctly. So the exploit that they've used, like I said, is technically against the terms of service because they've been account sharing, and we've had people banned for that in the past, and as I'm covering that in my Talk section just after this piece, I won't go into too much detail, but seriously, they have killed him. So congratulations to the guys and girls. I don't know if there are any females in Method, but congrats to all of Method for doing that. Now, 6.1 has also hit the servers, and that's now both EU side and US. And we've now got Twitter, which hasn't actually fallen over, despite what the naysayers were going to predict. So, have they got it wrong? Is Twitter even working in-game? I don't know. We have got the patch here in the EU, but as I said earlier, I haven't been in-game yet to witness what is or isn't happening with the Twitter side of things. So, maybe it's that. Maybe I just follow the right type of people on Twitter, or maybe I was right when I said that it really wouldn't make a lot of difference to the way people interact with Warcraft and Twitter, apart from the fact it saves the people that do that interaction time. It's more convenience. It's what WoW has actually become really good at over the years. They've just made these small quality of life improvements for people that play the game. And that really wraps up the news for this week. It's a big patch week, and maybe I'll have more to discuss next week once the patch has been live for a week. The only other notable thing that I have actually just remembered is that Holinka made a post on Twitter yesterday stating that he was happy that the way that 6.1 had brought class balance to the game. Now, Holinka is the PvP guy, and I'm assuming that he means that generically rather than just for PvP. Hopefully the game is really balanced. Hopefully they've got it all right. Hopefully all of the tweaks that they've made the game and the classes as perfectly balanced as it has ever been before. I'm sure there'll be people, hi Mark, QQing about how overpowered Brewmaster Monks are, how overpowered Rogues are, how overpowered Druids are, and Priests and every other class is more overpowered than the class I play. Well, that's always the way. You see someone who can do something better than you. I've always QQ'd about the way Priests can't solo reasonably new content because we die too quickly. We've got no armour, we've got no burst DPS to just blow things up. We can't do that. We can't. We do, however, have masses of survivability, and I can kill things as a Disc Priest that some people as a DPS class can't. Not because I can kill them faster, I can do the burn phase, I just survive because, one good example was the Warbringers that were scattered all around Pandaria. Tanks could solo them, a Disc Priest could solo them, many DPS classes couldn't, and it wasn't because of the output that the Priests and the tanks had. It was because of their survivability, because the mobs themselves didn't hit that hard that you couldn't mitigate the damage or heal through it. They did, however, hit hard enough that if you didn't have sufficient healing or sufficient mitigation, that you couldn't survive before you could burn it down. Hey, like I said, everyone's overpowered in their own special way. But that pretty much is the news. So, news section over. We'll move now on to the main event, the topic of the week. Let's talk about WoW exploits. So, last week, Method killed Mythic Blackhand, and the accusations of cheating started almost before Blackhand had hit the ground and took his last breath. The crime that Method stand accused of is account sharing. Now, if you cast your mind back to Christmas time, no, not to the turkey and your presents, but to a pair of guys named Wreckful and Soda. They were banned for account sharing while streaming, and on this stream, allegedly, they openly admitted that they were playing each other's accounts. Stupid boys. Never mind. So they were banned for account sharing. Now, Method have allegedly account shared, and their style of account sharing has been slightly different because the accusers claim that certain players created a second account, then transferred a geared alt to that second account, and then allowed a second person to play that geared alt on their account. Now, this is harder to prove as the alleged incident wasn't actually streamed, to my knowledge at least, and unless the two players were playing at different locations and not masking their IP addresses to be the same, it is perfectly acceptable to have two Warcraft licenses online from the same Battle.net account at the same time. I know, I've done this. So, really, unless Method guys are bloody stupid, their guilt can't be proven unless, of course, they come out and openly admit, yes, we account shared and this is how we did it. But this type of cheating isn't really cheating, is it? It's not new. Wow. Back in vanilla, if you wanted to become a Grand Marshal or High Poobah Warlord thing, whatever the Horde had, you had to account share. every server that had a PvP community of people, most communities are, I guess, and they decided who each week would become the winner of the weekly title of Grand Marshal, High Warlord, whatever. And that was guaranteed because people cheated. They forced it to happen. You could only have one a week, and the person that got most honour in a week became High Warlord, High Marshal, Grand Marshal, whatever. And the way that this was guaranteed was because the people that were earning all of the honour would allow one player to be online for 24 hours, 6.5 days a week because of downtime, whatever. You couldn't be 7 days. But there's no way that any man or woman or child can play Warcraft consistently for 100% of server uptime in a week. So people account shared. If there was 10 people that were in line to get Grand Marshal this week, 9 of them would let the 10th person get it, and the other 9 people would help play the 10th person's account. Simple. That way, the 9 people can't play enough on their characters to get the honour because they're playing your character to get the honour. It stretches back that far. Corruption is in the game. Big titles, big achievements. People want to have it all for themselves. Everyone wants a piece of the pie. I would. I did. But I didn't do it. I never got anywhere near close. I believe I got to Sergeant. And then I found out how you got it, and I was no way I was going to let anyone play my account. I wouldn't even let my best friend on my account. But it wasn't just the PvP, guys. Also in vanilla, there was raid exploits. Razorgore, the first boss in Blackwing Lair, could be exploited only by Alliance guilds, because back then, only the Alliance had paladins. And what we had to do was we had to mind control the boss, kill ads while we were killing eggs with the boss. And some guilds discovered that by using Divine Intervention, which was a paladin ability that put a physical immunity on a friendly target by sacrificing the paladin. And what this forced to happen was the encounter would reset. We've seen it many times now. We can reset encounters by running through doors, kiting bosses so they become evade, whatever. But back then, it didn't work quite that way, because what happened there was the boss became immune, and all of the ads that were in the room disappeared. They vanished because the encounter had been reset, because the boss technically isn't there. And what would happen is, after a few minutes, Divine Intervention would fall off of the boss, but instead of resetting the boss, it put him into phase 2 of the fight, where all of the ads were meant to have been killed. Simple. The hardest part of the fight was dealing with the ads, and they've just bypassed it by mind controlling the boss, Divine Intervention him, going for a cup of tea, coming back, Divine Intervention wears off, and you're into the next phase. Simple. But it wasn't just one boss. Anchorage, the big 40-man raid, one guild in the US, discovered when they realised that the first boss and the last boss were on the same horizontal plane, but on 2 different levels. They discovered that you could remove the floor by taking game files out. You deleted the game files, you fell through the floor into the boss, the encounter. So you did kill the first boss, remove the floor, kill the second boss. But the second boss wasn't the second boss, it was the last boss. And Blizzard found out about this one. And they did throw the ban hammer at them, because it's not an accidental thing. You don't accidentally have 40 people delete game files and fall through the floor. No. So, it's been going on since day one. There's also been other exploits that have been widely used as a valid tactic, because raiding was legitimately hard back then. Getting gear wasn't as easy as it is today. And guilds cheated. Everyone. It was published as a strategy. The boss in Zul'Gurub, Bloodlord Mandakir, he could be cheesed by the whole raid except for the tanks hiding behind a row of spears, or standing on a ledge on the tower or on the wall, however you wanted to do it. And what this did was it allowed the boss's mount, who was meant to charge the raid and deal a shit ton of damage, excuse me, I'll bleep that out, a lot of damage to the raid. But by standing behind the spears or on a ledge, you were out of reach. The poor dinosaur would charge you and there's nothing to hit. Loads of damage mitigated, half of a mechanic removed. And I admit, I did this one because it was the published strategy. I now know that it's an exploit, but I didn't really understand then the game as I do now. And it wasn't just as a vanilla. No, Prince Malchezaar in Karazhan, he'd been made considerably easier by ranged and healers avoiding the infernals that used to rain from the sky. Now there was one spot in the arena that you fought him that you could avoid this whole mechanic if you were ranged by standing in the doorway, because an infernal doesn't fall from the roof above your head, it falls from the sky, and you were in an area where the infernals physically couldn't be dropped. Now in 2.4 Blizzard fixed that one, but they never confirmed it as an exploit. No one was ever banned for it, and every guild did it that way because it was easy. And again, my guild did it that way until the fix. Also in 2.4, also in TBC, was the rumoured cheating on the world first kill of Lady Vash. Now this is where the real cheat mechanics come in for the world first kills. The exploit was to purposely wipe the raid at 20% of the fight. And what would happen would you would have a paladin use divine intervention, which forced Lady Vash to reset to phase 2. So the raid hadn't quite wiped because one person was alive, but they were in divine intervention, which was the immunity spell that the paladin could put up on someone. And that would force Lady Vash to reset, and as her health was connected to the pillars, there's 4 pillars around the arena, as soon as the fight sort of reset, the HP would disappear as well. So she would be at 1 health. You'd have a person in divine intervention, and what you had to do was soulstone a priest. Pre-soulstone back then, I don't think you could soulstone res. And what would happen then was the priest would res and use Shadow Word Death to kill her. And that is how the very first world boss kill was done, and there was uproar. I can't remember the name of the guild. I think it may have been Nihilum, or the guild that became Nihilum. In Wrath too, we had many kills. Well, many. We had 2 world first kills. Well, not world first kills. World first kill of Lich King, that was. But the world first Zero Lights achievement on Yogg-Saron was cheated as well. And the first one on Yogg-Saron was by making killer ads evade. There was a healer stuck in a location outside of the main fighting arena, the brain room, and the ads would focus on the person in there. And on the Lich King, of course, the Lich King is probably the most famous one. It was by making the platform rebuild by throwing engineering bombs, so that one part of the phase 1 fight where the Valkyrie would pick up a person and drop them off the edge, there would be no edge. They just simply pick them up, drop them on the end of the platform, and then the people could run in rather than wiping, or dying, I should say. Back in Dragon Soul, the world first guilds, including Paragon and Method, found a way to exploit the loot by trading loot to characters that had already been into the Dragon Soul LFR, I should say, once that week. It was a bug in the game. Allegedly, it had been reported during the beta, the PTR test, but Blizzard didn't change it. But the guilds still knew it was cheating. They exploited their way to loot for the enormous tier set bonuses, and Blizzard brought the ban hammer down on those. They gave them 8-day bans, which prevented many of the guilds getting world first kills on heroic modes. And all this shows to me is that world first guilds will stop at nothing to get their world first kills. And really, if that means so much to these folk, let them cheat. I prefer to earn my right to kills. Honestly, I don't ever expect to be in a world first guild. I'm not that good. I do it for the achievement of killing bosses, for the fun of the fight, for the challenge. And if you're cheating to get your kicks out of that sort of challenge, in my opinion, you're doing it wrong. I don't believe nowadays there will ever be any true world first guilds killing bosses without accusations of cheating, without them even trying to cheat even. I've got no faith in the world first kills anymore. It's been going on for so long. Early boss kills, yes, I don't believe there's much cheating going on, but it happens. It does. Atramedes is a good example. He was kited out of his room so that none of the mechanics of the fight worked. Blizzard hotfixed that one, but again, no one was banned for that one, and I don't think it will ever change. Anyway, congratulations to Method. That kill I believe it was a true kill. They did cheat, maybe. Account sharing is technically cheating, but they still had to press the buttons and do everything, so congratulations to them. Their moment in time in the grand history of the world is such a speck. Who cares? Let them have their moment. They did it. And now for something completely different as we go into the mail.
There's a letter in your mailbox.
This week I'd like to thank Ro of Realm Maintenance and the Extended Maintenance podcast for plugging this very show on Realm Maintenance. And I'd also like to thank Alt of Alternative Chat and Extended Maintenance for the retweets. So /bow to you both. You are doing me a great service and I love you both for it. This week I've also received some feedback about the show from 2 guildies in Exhumed of Shadow Suddenly You. Plug, shameless, I know. So Applejack and Dialox, thank you both for the feedback you gave me last night. And I'm glad to hear that you both love the show. But they've given me some feedback on the audio quality, so I know a little bit more about what you guys are hearing and how it's perceived by yourself. Because me, I'm a little bit biased in some ways, and when I'm editing the show, it becomes... I hear it too much, and I know what I should sound like, and I know what I'd like to sound like, whereas you guys are out there in the real world, you're listening to other podcasts, you can compare me to them a lot more subjectively than I can. So thanks for the feedback. I'd also like to thank the other guildies that have said that they listen to the show. So Alcathrace, I Am Not Holy, and Yami, thank you all for your feedback. It's been great over the weeks. But I don't just like feedback from guildies because as great as they are tending to be a little bit biased, I believe. So if you're not gilded with me, if you are a truly independent listener, please get in touch with me. I've got 2 methods you can get in touch with me. One, the easy method, the one that everyone should be able to do in this day and age, is to send me an email. The email address is podcast@evlix.co.uk, or you can send me a Twitter. Now, if you're in-game, 6.1, you can now do this in-game. So you can listen to me while you game and tweet to me in-game. Fantastic, yeah? But you'll need to know my Twitter handle. Now, the show's Twitter handle is @evangelysmcast, which is EVANGELYSMCAST. And the easier one to remember, maybe, I don't know, but my personal Twitter account is @Evlix, which is EVLYXX. Now, I've got some fingers in pies in the coming weeks. You may be hearing me in other places, but that's just a teaser. I'm going to be a tease. Thanks for the people that are helping make that possible. Watch this space, folks. Watch this space. But for today, that's the end of the mail time. I've got no mail. Damn them. But I'll wrap up today's show with my tip section. This is how we do it.
This is how we do it. All hands are in the air.
In this week's This Is How We Do It, what we're looking at is the Tier 3 or the Level 45 talents. For the first time, the talents now vary between the specs, but only between Healer and DPS, so Holy and Discipline share the same ones. As I'll spend more time on the Healer stuff, I'll look briefly at the 2 talents that are different for our shadowy friends. The first one is Surge of Darkness, and in short, this is an ability a talent that turns Mind Spike into an instant cast spell that deals 50% more damage but does not remove the darts as it normally would. Now this is great for fights with high movement, as you can save your procs for when you're on the move. The third choice is Insanity, and I don't mean I have to be insane to use it, that is the name of the talent. Now this transforms Mind Flay into a more powerful spell called Insanity, and it deals 100% more damage, and it lasts for 6 seconds after consuming a Shadow Orb. Now this one is great for fights where you can turret for a long period of time, so basically the opposite of Surge of Darkness. Now that doesn't mean to say the other option isn't a good one, but we'll cover that when we cover the healers. Now for the healers, this tier of talents is all about mana saving. The first option that we see is Surge of Light. Now, like Surge of Darkness, this turns one of our abilities into an instant cast. And each time you heal or smite, you have a chance to cause your next flash heal to become instant and consume no mana. Now, it's only an 8% chance, and as a disc healer, I don't see that as a great saving because I don't actually cast heals that much. Most of my heals that I cast are shields. So it's not that good for a disc priest, but for a holy priest, I think this is great because they do actually do a lot of hard casting compared to the disc priest. And I do also find it really good for a disc priest in RPGs, where you, as a healer, you tend to be the prime target, the tank, if you like. But in PvE, for disc, it's not so good, but for holy, it rocks. Now the second choice is Mindbender. Now the observant one amongst you will have noticed that I went from first to third when I did the shadow section. The reason for this is that Mindbender is the same for all three specs. And all this simply does is it reduces the cooldown of the Shadow Fiend. No, he is not a shadowy friend, as many people call him. And over a 15-second period, well, now it's actually 20 seconds, now I think about it, because in 6.1, the Mindbender talent changed, so it's now over 20 seconds. It will deal a load of damage. Now, since 5.0, I've been saying that the damage output of the Shadow Fiend is actually way too high and needs nerfing. Now, the mana return is good enough. It needs to stay, but the damage output of the Shadow Fiend, particularly for Holy and Disc, is too high. But no one's ever complained about it, and Blizzard haven't fixed it yet, and they've now actually given us 5 seconds more. Now, recently, I'd actually changed away from Shadow Fiend. Shadow Fiend used to be my default talent for every single fight, never changed. But I've noticed in the logs recently that Powered Solace, which is the next one, was being used by a lot of priests. Now, Powered Solace converts Holy Fire into a new spell called Powered Solace. Obvious, I guess? And what that did, it increases the damage that what Holy Fire did, and returned 2% mana. And you could do this every 10 seconds. But it was always quite difficult, if you weren't doing a lot of atonement healing, to remember to use Powered Solace on cooldown. And 2 weeks ago, as I say, I changed to Powered Solace as my default option. But now, today, I will be changing back to Mindbender because, purely and simply, 33% more uptime means more mana return. They haven't nerfed the amount it returns, so I will be going back to Mana Fiend, Shadow Fiend, whatever you want to call him. Dave, we'll call him Dave because that's what everyone calls their demons, I believe. So I'm going back to Mindbender permanently on every fight post 6.1. Because for me, I need mana. It allows much more flexibility in my gameplay. And that is, folks, the end of this week's This Is How We Do It tip section, and to the end of the show. Thank you all for listening. Hopefully you've been a great audience. Good night, folks, and enjoy. And please do remember, if you want to get in touch with us here on the show, you can do it by email, by sending an email to podcast@evelix.co.uk, or via one of my Twitter accounts. The show account is @evangelysmcast, EVANGELYSMCAST, and my personal Twitter account, which is @evelix, EVLYXX. Thank you for listening, and good night.